From the Detroit Free Press, I'm Robin Chan with today's Voice Briefing. It's Wednesday, June 12th, 2024.
For the Detroit Free Press Autos team, I'm Jamie LaRoe. In what UAW President Shawn Fain is calling a game changer, the UAW has reached a tentative local agreement with Ultium Cells LLC, the factory in Northeast Ohio that supplies battery cells for General Motors electric vehicles. The tentative agreement with Ultium Cells, which is a joint venture between GM and LG Energy Solution, will give most workers a $3.59 per hour raise upon ratification, according to a letter by Fain. Besides the immediate boost, the deal gives raises of 30% over 3 years for many production workers and a $3,000 bonus upon ratification. Skilled tradespeople will immediately see pay raises to $38.16 an hour upon ratification. There will also be 4 full-time union health and safety representatives at the facility, along with other benefits. The union will hold informational meetings to go over the details of the deal before voting starts Friday at 5 a.m. and ends Sunday at 5 a.m. The plant employs 1,700 workers and sits adjacent to GM's former Lordstown assembly plant, which GM closed and sold in 2019. One of the main issues around the union's negotiations with the Detroit automakers during its 46-day strike last fall was organizing the joint venture battery plants. Ultium Cells is building a factory in Lansing that is expected to open later this year.
For the Detroit Free Press, I'm Eric D. Lawrence. The Detroit People Mover should have an updated fleet of rail cars in the next 18 months. The cars won't technically be new. They'll come from Toronto, where they were in use until 2023. Robert Kramer, the general manager for the entity that operates the Detroit system, says it should cost about $6 million to complete the acquisition of the rail cars and get them ready for use on the People Mover's 2.9-mile elevated loop. That 18-month time frame is an estimate, but Kramer says it gives the switch a high likelihood of success. Kramer says the move will allow the People Mover to avoid an even costlier overhaul of the existing fleet, which has been in use in Detroit since the People Mover's launch in 1987. The two types of cars are similar, using the same driverless system, but the Toronto version has a driver cab, which is not in place on the Detroit cars, although Detroit's version has manual controls available if needed. The former transit line that the Toronto cars were on is being replaced with a subway extension. The line was shut down earlier than planned because of a derailment, but Kramer says the track, not the cars, are to blame. The People Mover is also preparing for a study later this year to scenario plan for future possibilities, including changes to stations, better ways to connect to other modes of transit in the downtown area, and even expansion options and costs.
I'm Andrew Burkle with the Free Press Sports Department, and for the time being, shortstop Javier Baez will not be in the lineup for the Detroit Tigers. The team announced Tuesday afternoon that Baez has been placed on the 10-day injured list due to a long-term back issue that recently flared up. The official diagnosis is lumbar spine inflation, but as I mentioned before, this is something he's been dealing with for a while. The news comes amidst another disastrous Baez season. Baez is hitting just .183 with 1 home run, 6 walks, and 42 strikeouts across 53 games this year. Making matters worse, Baez has struggled on the defensive side of the ball as well. The advanced numbers say he's been worth -2 defensive runs saved this year. It's also well known by now that Baez's contract is a monstrosity. The Tigers are paying the shortstop $25 million this year, which is the highest on the team, and another $73 million is still in the books for the next 3 years. In the meantime, the Tigers have called up shortstop Ryan Kreidler to help fill the void. He'll likely split time with utility man Zach McKinstry while Baez tries to get healthy, but this is not seen as a permanent or even long-term fix. Baez is set to head down to the Tigers facility in Lakeland, Florida for at least a few days and then travel back to Detroit to start rehabbing once he gets cleared. When chatting with the media on Tuesday, Baez said he wants to, quote, try and come back for the second half, but it wasn't clear if Baez meant that literally or figuratively. The Tigers officially will hit the halfway point of the season on June 27th, and then the unofficial halfway point, the All-Star game, is scheduled for July 16th. In the short term, the Tigers will split up the time at shortstop and hope that the rest and recovery for Baez will help him feel more healthy and ultimately lead to some more production.
Find more from the Detroit Free Press on freep.com. That's FREEP.com. Thanks for listening, and you'll hear more from us tomorrow.